Top 10 reasons Shakespeare did not write Shakespeare. The real Shakespeare. There never was an Elizabethan playwright named William Shakespeare. There was an Elizabethan actor, theater manager, and businessman by the name of William Shakespeare or Shakespeare, born in Stratford upon Avon, England. When academics speak of the historical William Shakespeare, they are referring to this person. There is no direct evidence to show that William Shakespeare was a writer. There are no original manuscripts of the plays or the poems, no letters, and only 6 shaky signatures, all in dispute. Both his parents, John and Mary, were illiterate, signing documents with an X. His wife, Anne Hathaway, was illiterate. His children seem to have been illiterate, which would make Shakespeare the only prominent writer in history whose children are believed to have been illiterate. William from Stratford never went to college and, as far as can be determined, never had any schooling. There has been an attempt by Stratfordians to surmise that William Shakespeare attended a grammar school in Stratford. No records of this exist, and Shakespeare made no mention of this school in his will, a startling oversight if the grammar school was single-handedly responsible for creating perhaps the most literate, scholarly man of all time. The lack of any letters written by William Shakespeare is particularly significant. As a great writer, it is likely he would have written a large number. Voltaire's collected correspondence totals roughly 20,000 pieces. There are no surviving letters in Shakespeare's or Shakespeare's own hand. His vocabulary. The works attributed to Shakespeare contain one of the largest vocabularies of any single English writer. John Milton's Paradise Lost, for example, has about 8,000 different words. The King James Version of the Bible, inspired by God and translated by 48 of Great Britain's greatest biblical scholars, has 12,852 different words. There are 31,534 different words in Shakespeare's canon. There is a startling incoherence between the story of a young man with at best a grammar school education, wandering into London, getting involved in theater, and then suddenly, even miraculously, possessing one of the greatest vocabularies of any individual who ever lived. The famous doubters. The case against William Shakespeare's authorship is strong enough to have attracted many famous individuals. A partial list of the Shakespeare doubters includes Mark Twain, Walt Whitman, Sigmund Freud, Nathaniel Hawthorne, Malcolm X, and Helen Keller. Mark Twain, in his hilarious 1909 debunking of the Shakespeare myth titled "Is Shakespeare Dead?", points out that no one in England took any notice of the death of the actor William Shakespeare. Not a single book. William Shakespeare's will is 3 pages long and handwritten by an attorney. In these 3 pages, there is no indication that he was a writer. The will mentions not a single book, play, poem, or unfinished literary work, or scrap of manuscript of any kind. The absence of books in the will is telling, since to write his works, the mythical William Shakespeare would have had to have access to hundreds of books. The plays are full of expertise on a wide variety of subjects, including contemporary and classical literature, multiple foreign languages, a detailed knowledge of Italy, Italian language and culture, the law, medicine, military matters, sea navigation, painting, mathematics, astrology, horticulture, music, and a variety of aristocratic sports like bowls and falconry. Multilingual. The writer of Shakespeare's plays had command of not only English, but Latin, Greek, French, Italian, and Spanish. His French in particular is not of the classroom, but reflects the vulgar speech of ordinary people. The thousands of new words Shakespeare added to the English language were created from his multilingual expertise. There is no way of reconciling the immense scholarship shown in Shakespeare's works with William Shakespeare, who from birth was surrounded by illiterate people, had little or no education, and is believed never to have traveled outside England. Genius. William Shakespeare was a genius. This answer is generally supplied to all questions relating to Shakespeare's apparent lack of qualifications for the title of world's greatest author. Genius, however, has its limitations. About 1/3 of Shakespeare's plays are either set in Italy or make specific references to events and locations there. Genius may explain the literary skills in Shakespeare's works, but it does not supply knowledge of places never visited or languages never learned. Stratford. As with virtually everything associated with the historical Shakespeare, the tourist sites in Stratford are pure speculation. It is fairly certain that the house on Henley Street is where Shakespeare was born and brought up, complete with, as the birthplace website proudly states, recreated replicas. The grammar school in Stratford has lost all records from the period, but is almost definitely where Shakespeare received his education. This institution even claims to have his original desk, which is third from the front on the left-hand side. On and on, the fantasy is created with an avalanche of qualifiers like, most biographers agree, and we are permitted to think, and we have no reason not to assume, etc. No one knows for sure who wrote the works attributed to Shakespeare. What can be said with some certainty is that William Shakespeare didn't.